Remember this kit that was announced 2 years ago, the Wing Gundam Zero Endless Wars version car? Well, when it was first announced 2 years ago, it was not popular. Everybody was panning it for another Wing Gundam kit, and also how it looked very plain and very boring. But in the end, the kit sold out in every store and almost in every country. In fact, even now, it is quite hard to actually get this kit in Malaysia. And I think it's going to happen same as well to the new Master Grade Zeta Gundam version car. And in this video, I'm going to do a detailed comparison between the last Master Grade Gundam Zeta, Zeta Gundam 2.0 on the left, and the Zeta version car on the right. First up is the chest piece, right? If we talk about the chest piece, you can see that the design overall for the version car, it slopes downward a lot more compared to the 2.0. And most importantly to me, the hinge for the cockpit for the Wave Rider is really well hidden in this design compared to the version 2.0 where the hinge is exposed, and I don't really quite like that as well. So that is one very big difference in the design from the earlier 2.0. And I think the one that's most evident is also in terms of the shoulder armor. If you look at the 2.0 shoulder armor, it is quite aggressive, right? There's an additional line that goes in the middle between the shoulder armor, and you look at the version Katoki on the right, it is actually quite smooth. The design line is actually smooth, flowing from top to bottom with nothing holding it in between as what you see from the version 2.0. So that is one design that everybody will notice when they put the picture side by side. Thirdly, that white particular piece that sits between the arm and also the torso of the Zeta Gundam. Different kits and products for the Zeta Gundam have gone through different iterations. Some of it is actually quite high, some of it is actually quite low. But in this particular instance, you can see that the Zeta Gundam version car just sits a little bit higher compared to the version 2.0. That is something that I noticed when I was looking through the Master Grade 2.0 and version car side by side. And also on the chest piece as well, as you can see, the design has been changed quite a lot by Katoki Hajime itself. There is no details on the chest, with some small little markings and also a different design principle of those additional 3 parts that's going to be 4 parts that's going to be protruding out of the chest, as you can see in this particular picture. I kind of prefer the design on the version Katoki for the chest piece because this downward slope looks a lot more anime accurate for sure. And let's go to the legs right now. If you look at the legs, the thrusters or the vents on the side of the legs on both ankles, it has also seems to have gone through a big change by Katoki Hajime. He's enlarged it by quite a lot. It is a lot taller and a lot narrower as well compared to the version 2.0 where the vents is actually a little bit small for my liking. So I do really dig this bigger vent design by Katoki Hajime. Okay, next up is basically the knee armor that's moving for you to actually convert it into a Wave Rider. It's also a lot more seamless, I think, in design wise for the version car design. It definitely looks a lot better, a lot slicker as well. Where in the version 2.0, it looks a little bit out of place. It doesn't seem to snap into place. It looks like it's protruding out of the overall design of the Zeta Gundam's leg. So I kind of prefer the knee design here as well. Small, but when you look into it, it really is very, very different. Now, I think Katoki Hajime also has remodeled the head somewhat. It is not as wide as the version 2.0 as well. The head definitely does seem like it is a little bit slimmer but a lot longer, and at the same time it does seem to sit a little bit higher as well compared to the version 2.0, where the version 2.0 the head seems to be stuck a little bit down there. The yellow chest piece in between the head and the torso also seems to be a lot higher compared to the version 2.0. And also the armor piece protecting the ankles and the legs, as you can see, it is also a lot longer, and the details is very different too compared to the version 2.0. The version 2.0 particular piece seems to be quite short compared to what we are seeing here for version Katoki. So now that you're seeing all these different changes, you really can tell that Katoki Hajime has really made a lot of changes to the overall design language of the Zeta Gundam model kit. And the shield, as I spoken in the last video as well, the shield seems to be a lot shorter compared to the version 2.0. Some of you may not like this, but I think there's a reason for this, because I think the overall transformation shield needs to be in scale to the overall Wave Rider size and length. So I think he has remodeled the shield to fit it differently. So the shield looks a little bit different, but the angle of the shield is a lot sharper, which I'll show you when we go through the back of the video. As I said in the previous video as well, we can see that the wings of the Wave Rider sits a lot lower compared to the version 2.0. The version 2.0, the backpack for the wings is really hanging right out there. You know, it kind of feels like it's taking too much attention away from the overall head and design of the Zeta Gundam. So I think that is a very good decision by Katoki Hajime to push the wings a lot downwards compared to the version 2.0. And one big change is also on the crotch itself. If you look at the crotch, the front skirt is a little bit longer and it is not as boxy or square as the other robot Zeta Gundam that has been produced by Katoki Hajime as well. So I kind of prefer this design. It is a lot sleeker and a lot more angular and also a lot longer compared to the version 2.0. Katoki Hajime actually made the Zeta Gundam for the anime rights robot. I can't remember the name of the series, but it's a lot squarer compared to this particular version. Also, in terms of the side skirt, it does seem that Katoki Hajime has also increased the length of the side skirt for the Zeta Gundam compared to the version 2.0. The 2.0 version doesn't seem to be that long, so I could be wrong, but it does seem like it is a little bit extended compared to the version 2.0 as well. Okay, so those are all the differences that you can see from the front of the Zeta Gundam version car. Now let's go to the back. When you look through the back, you can see there's a very big difference in terms of design. The wings of the Wave Rider, as you can see here, it seems like it's been angled 45 degrees to both angles on left and right, versus the older version, it is quite symmetrical, right? It is just flat. So that is also something that I didn't notice when I was going through the pictures. I had to actually go through small little details of every single design points of both design of the version car and also the 2.0. And also on the legs, this is something that I also kind of missed. As you can see that the vents on the legs parts, it's also on the calf, sorry, it's also been changed. The hose is a lot bigger. He has removed that blue color part that we see from the version 2.0. So subtle, but when you really look into it, it kind of makes sense, and it is kind of typical of the version Katoki Hajime design that we have come to see and also love from his design of the Gunpla mobile suit. And as we have seen from the vents earlier, from the inner parts of the legs, even on the outer parts of the leg as well, the vents has also been increased in size, and also it is a lot more angular and sharper as well. So I also, again, I really dig this particular design. With the additional markings, when you put it in there, it looks very, very cool. So let me know what you guys think about the bigger vents. Do you like it, or do you think that it's a bit too out there? Would love to hear from you guys on that as well. Now, as I was talking about the shield earlier as well, as you can see on the right, the angle and the size of the shield has definitely been reduced, but it does seem to be a lot more sharper and a lot sleeker as well. So that is one design that has been drastically changed a lot when you look at the back of the Zeta Gundam 2.0 versus the version car. That's something that I thought was very unique. When we were comparing the front of both kits, we couldn't really tell. We actually had to spend a lot of time going through all the single parts, but now we can really see it. Now, in terms of the shield, again, the top parts of the shield does seem to be a lot slimmer and sleeker too, compared to the fatter version of the version 2.0. So some of you may not like it, but I think it does look better with the overall change that Katoki Hajime has done. I'm just wondering whether the overall height of the kit is going to be the same as the version 2.0, or will it be a little bit shorter, because it does seem like it's going to be a little bit shorter compared to the version 2.0 so far. And lastly, this particular part of the Wave Rider has also gone through a sleek transformation. It is a lot slimmer and thinner as well. Compared to the 2.0, as you can see, it's a lot thicker, very fat in terms of the overall design. This is the tail tip, the fin of the Wave Rider. So yeah, overall design language of the entire wing, the backpack, looks a lot slimmer and smaller compared to the version 2.0 model kit. And on going back to the wingtip, you know, where the wing expands to showcase how big the wings are for the Wave Rider, it also looks a bit more streamlined, right? In the version 2.0, the wings, you can see there's one layer of black and 2 layers of red wing expansion. But when you look at the Katoki version, you only see 1 layer. So it's quite well hidden, I think, in terms of the mechanism, and it looks definitely a lot better in terms of the design cues here as well. And this particular piece on the wing, wow, also a lot more angular, as we have seen and come to know from Mr. Katoki Hajime. A lot more angular, a lot more pronounced compared to the earlier versions. If I'm not mistaken, this used to be the landing gears, or I could be wrong, because I used to have the Zeta Gundam toy, which I used to transform and play around a lot. If I'm not mistaken, that is where the landing gears were supposed to be. So maybe that's the design is very, very different. And of course, in terms of the vent for the afterburners, it is also a lot more angular, a lot more pronounced, a lot sharper edge as well compared to the very smooth, smaller lines and the smaller vents for the turbo outburst for the version 2.0 as well. So those are all the changes. You can see that when we compare the front and back of the Zeta Gundam 2.0 and the version car, there are a lot of changes that's been made by Katoki Hajime, and I do think the overall design of the new version car Master Grade definitely looks a lot better as well. Not fair, but if you compare this with the real grade, which I don't think is a fair comparison, because the real grade kits typically have a lot more details, a lot more markings as well, and they just don't really compare very well to version car, right? Version car kits typically have a very nice, smoother designs. They're not going for realism, not going for details, but a lot more usually going for accuracy back to the overall source material. So one of the biggest difference that if you compare with the knee armor of the Zeta Gundam real grade and version car, as you can see here, the design cues are just so different. I kind of prefer the version car for what it is. At the 1 to 100 scale, it definitely does look a lot better compared to the real grade. But then the real grade at a smaller package of 1/144 scale, it definitely does look a lot better with all the additional details and markings and different wild designs, right? So after this detailed comparison, what do you guys think? Has it changed your mind about buying the new upcoming Zeta Gundam version car? If not, well, I think that's better for me as well, because that means it'll be easier for me to buy the kit when it actually comes out. I'm actually going to be buying this kit because I'm a big fan of the Zeta Gundam timeline, and the overall design changes at first glance. When we look at the overall design, we couldn't really tell what was the difference, but I think the big change in terms of the sloping chairs, reimagining all the vents on the legs, the redesign of the head, the shoulder armor, which is also quite critical as well, and the front skirt, which is a lot more angular instead of the boxy look which Katoki Hajime used to make, definitely is a lot better looking for a 1/100 scale master grade kit. The only thing here that's missing is the Mega Bazooka launcher that was supposed to come. I think there will probably be a premium bundle release in the future, I'm sure. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear from you guys if you will be putting down your money for this particular release when it comes out in 2023. Till then, thank you guys for watching. If you're new to our channel, you know what to do, and I'll see you guys down in the comment section below.